Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble and disassemble a Benelli SuperNova. I bought this gun quite a few years ago. The process should still be the same on the gun. It's going to be quick, short, and simple. There's going to be no really specifics on the item, just how to do it, and enjoy the video. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when taking apart your Benelli SuperNova is you want to screw off this cap right here. This is going to be your screwdriver moving forward, and it's going to help you take off other parts, so keep it close. All you do is crank it off like that, like any other thing, like a bottle cap, and then what should happen after there, your barrel should come right off. And sometimes it won't come right off, so you just got to click your button right here to release the pump, and it'll jiggle out of there. Okay. So after step one, this is what you should have: barrel, cap, and the rest of the gun. Alright, so this is step two of the assembly of the gun. You want to take your cap off, like we did in the first step. Take that, and you're going to find these two holes on each side of the gun, little black dots, and that holds two pins in there that's holding the trigger assembly all together. So you take the little nipple on there and you just push on them on each side. You're going to hear a little pop, and that's going to take out these little pins. As you can see, I'll turn it like this. Take one out, and they say you can use this cap to actually pry it out, but for me, I just take one out, and if I can't get the second one out with it, I'll just put the pin in the other side, and I'll just gently tap it, and then both pins come out. So that was step two. You get your pins out, get your cap, and now you're going to get ready to move on to step three. Alright, step three. So now that these two pins are out, one, two, you can actually take out the whole trigger guard assembly by just grabbing it. So now you have that out. Here comes the third step. It's a little bit more tricky. So basically what you want to do is I usually just take this whole pump action mechanism off, and that is easy by just prying out these two little the two little arms there that sit on top of it, like so. Let me do that. I gotta just do both hands here. So I know that looked a little confusing, but basically what you can just push this right to the back, lift up the two arms, and then the whole assembly will come off. So now the next step is you want to take this mechanism out. As you can see, mine's a little rode off, but basically what you want to do, this is where your firing pin is. It's inside of here. So you want to click that, which rotates the head. I usually move it towards the back, but you click that to rotate the head, and then you should be able to just take it right out, and that frees it. So that's a piece, and now you have a empty gun. So what you want to do in here usually is these two rails right here. They're for they guide everything. You want to make sure they're greased up, not too much, but as you can see, mine's kind of dirty. And then you also want to kind of grease up the bottom, or make sure there's nothing, no debris in there, because a lot of times when you're out hunting, that's where stuff will lie. So, and there's your plug right there. If you want to get your plug out, you could do that, but I'm going to leave mine in. So let's get back to the assembly of this thing. Alright, so before we jump into the assembly, let's take a look at what we got. Got the barrel right here. Chokes right in there. If you had a choke wrench, you could take that out and clean it, which I recommend you do. You have the actual body of the gun right here. You have your cap, your two pins right here, your trigger assembly, your actual pump arm, and then your firing pin and the mechanisms all in there. So let's assemble this gun back together. Alright, so putting this thing back together is actually really easy. Once you cleaned it all out, did your greasing and maintenance on it, what you want to do is put your firing pin mechanism back in the same way you took it out. Basically, you can actually just sit it in there, like so. It'll sit on these two rails. I'm just sitting there, and all you want to do is you want to click that head the same way you took it out, pinch it, and it'll sit back in there. So then once you have that, it just slides back and forth on there. Probably shouldn't be doing that, but that's on there now, so that's sliding back and forth, all greased up. I'll do a close-up of that right now so you guys can see that. Okay, so the next step is, now that that's in there, you want to actually connect this back up. So basically you just feed the gun through the holes, obviously. Make sure it fits nice and snug. And then you want to take these two little bars here and just feed them through the two little holes. And make sure, you might have to do some playing around to get them in there, because they are kind of, not fidgety, but loose. So now that I got that in there, just want to push it in all the way to the back, and then I will show you what we need to do now. Alright, the reason I zoomed in, because this step could get a little bit tricky, and if you don't do it, it screws everything up. So you have your two arms in there, moving freely right now, but when they move, they're supposed to actually catch this piece right here that we just put in, that firing mechanism. So you want to find out where the mechanism and the firing pin is, and lay these two bars right on top of it so they all move as one unit. See that? It should all work like that. So that way it'll actually cycle shells and firing pin will work. So that's what it should look like. Push it all the way to the front just like that, and we'll get into the final step. So it should look like that. Alright, so the next step is actually really easy. Make sure that's right to the front. Take your or your trigger mechanism and just sit it in there. Oh yeah, and you got to make sure it you come in from this way, because there's a little lip here that needs to catch. So that's in like that, and you guys can guess the next step. It's literally going to be putting these pins in back in the hole. So let's get to that. Okay, so you guys know the final step. You got these two little pins right here, as you guys know. One of them is noticeably longer than the other. Not really noticeably, but one of them's a little bit longer. And that's the one you want to put farther away from the trigger. So it goes right in there. And then your short one, you want to put that by the trigger. I always screw this up, and I have to take them out again. So once they're in like that, all you do is you take your little cap off your nipple, click that in, clip that in just like that, give it a push, and there should be an indent, of course, on each side, so that you'll know if they're not in right, because they won't be they'll be sticking out on one side or the other. So they're in like that. Should be almost not flush, but a little bit less than flush, and that was almost the final step. So let's get to the last and easiest step. Okay, so the final step is putting your barrel back on, and all you do there is pick that that loop and guide it down just like that. And it should sit right in there, and as you can see, there's a little bit of gap there, and all you do to make sure that's snug is you want to hit this little button right here, which drops your barrel right into place, nice and snug. And then, of course, you just throw your cap back on, spin her on, make sure she's tight, not too tight, and just like that. Make sure everything's working nice and smooth. Make sure your safety flicks on and off, and yeah, so that's how you take apart and reassemble a Benelli SuperNova. So